FBI agents surmised early on that the men had in fact drowned. They cited the fact that the individuals' personal effects were the only belongings they had, and that the men would have drowned before leaving them behind. However, no human remains were ever found at the time. On the 17th of July 1962, a month after the escape, a Norwegian ship, the SS Norfjell, spotted a body floating in the ocean 15 nautical miles. That's about 28 kilometres or 17 miles from the Golden Gate Bridge. The ship did not retrieve the body and did not report the sighting until October that same year. Ridiculous. San Francisco County Coroner Henry Turkel cast doubt that it could have been one of the escapees, emphasising the improbability that a body would still be floating on the surface of the ocean after more than a month. Turkel proposed that the corpse may have been that of Cecil Philip Herman, a 34-year-old employed baker who had jumped from the Golden Gate Bridge 5 days earlier. However, several coroners from neighbouring counties challenged Turkel's opinion, stating that it was possible that the remains belonged to one of the escapees. The official position of the FBI investigators stated that, while it was theoretically possible for the men to have reached Angel Island, the odds of them having survived the turbulent currents and frigid waters of the bay were improbable. The temperature of the water on the night of the escape was quite cold, ranging from 50 to 54 degrees. According to the experts, an adult male would be able to survive roughly 20 minutes in the cold water before it caused a breakdown in bodily functions. Not only that, but the escapees would not have been able to prepare for the frigid water temperatures while at Alcatraz, because the officials kept the water warm, in part to deter the inmates from escaping. According to the final FBI report, West said that they had planned to steal clothes and a car upon reaching land, but no such thefts were reported in the immediate area. West fully cooperated with the investigation and was therefore not charged for his role in the escape. He was later transferred to McNeil Island in Washington after Alcatraz was deactivated in 1963, and later back to Atlanta Penitentiary. After serving his sentence, followed by 2 additional sentences in Georgia and Florida, he was released in 1967, only to be arrested again in Florida the following year on charges of grand larceny. In October 1972, at Florida State Prison, he fatally stabbed another inmate in what may have been a racially motivated incident. He was serving multiple sentences, including life imprisonment on a murder conviction when he died of acute peritonitis in 1978. On the 16th of December 1962, Alcatraz inmate John Paul Scott made water wings from inflated rubber gloves and swam a distance of 2.7 nautical miles, that's 5 kilometres or 3.1 miles, from Alcatraz to Fort Point, at the southern end of the Golden Gate Bridge. He was found there by teenagers suffering from hypothermia and exhaustion. After recovering in Letterman Army Hospital, he was immediately returned to Alcatraz. Scott is the only documented case of an Alcatraz inmate reaching the shore by swimming. Today, a multitude of athletes swim the same Alcatraz to Fort Point route as part of 2 annual triathlon events. Yeah, rather them than me. On the 21st of March 1963, Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy ordered Alcatraz to be closed, mainly because Alcatraz cost more to operate than any other prison. It was nearly $10 per prisoner per day, but Atlanta it was only $3 per prisoner per day. And not only that, but after 50 years of saltwater saturation, the building had become severely eroded. After 17 years of investigation, On the 31st of December 1979, the FBI finally closed its file on the case. The official finding was that the prisoners most likely drowned in the cold waters of the bay while attempting to reach Angel Island. They cited the remains found of the raft, as well as the personal effects of the men, as evidence that the raft broke up and sank at some point, and that Morris and the Anglin brothers succumbed to hypothermia, and their bodies had been swept out to sea by the rapid currents of the San Francisco Bay. The FBI did hand their evidence over to the US Marshals Service, whose investigation remains open. As Deputy US Marshal Michael Dyke from NPR, there's an active warrant and the Marshal Service doesn't give up looking for people. In 2009, Dyke said that he was still receiving leads on a regular basis. The warrant will expire in 2030, when all of the missing men would be at least 100 years old. However, this was not the last that was heard about the 3 people who allegedly escaped from Alcatraz. In January 1965, the FBI investigated a rumour that Clarence Anglin was living in Brazil. Agents were swiftly dispatched to South America, but found no direct evidence that he was there. Another man called the Bureau in 1967, claiming to have been Morris's classmate and to have known him for 30 years. He said he had bumped into him in Maryland and described him as having a small beard and moustache, but refused to give any further details. Fat lot of use he was. The mother of the Anglin brothers received flowers anonymously every Mother's Day until her death in 1973. But not only that, 2 very tall, unusual women in heavy makeup were reported to have attended a funeral. Could they have been the brothers? Federal officials said that in the mid to late 1960s and into the 1970s there were 6 or 7 sightings reported of the Anglin brothers, all in North Florida or Georgia. A deathbed confession was supplied by Robert Anglin, another one of the Anglin siblings, who confessed that he had been in touch with John and Clarence from 1963 to 1987, but claimed that they had later lost touch. Robert said that in 1989, when the father of the Anglin brothers died, 2 strangers in beards showed up at the funeral home. According to Robert, they stood in front of the casket looking at the body for a few minutes, they wept, and then they walked out. In 1989, a woman who identified herself only as Kathy called the TV programme Unsolved Mysteries Tipline to report that the photo of Clarence Anglin matched the description of a man who lived on a farm near Marianna, Florida. And another woman who recognised the photo of Clarence Anglin and also said he lived near Marianna, she correctly identified his eye colour, height and other physical features. A witness claimed that a sketch of Frank Morris bore a striking resemblance to a man she had seen in the same area. In 2014, a group of researchers used a computer model to calculate the currents flowing on the night of the escape. According to their findings, if the gang headed out around midnight, the water currents would actually assist them on their way to the shore and that they would have had a good chance of survival. In 2015, a History Channel documentary was aired that brought to light new evidence that seemed to support the Anglin brothers having survived the escape. A signed Christmas card was sent to their family and handwriting analysis was matched for the brothers. Unfortunately, though, no one could determine the date of the delivery. The Anglin family also brought to light another key piece of evidence, a picture of the 2 brothers in Brazil that was taken in 1975. This picture was analysed by a forensic expert who stated that it was more than likely John and Clarence Anglin. The family did not seek out their long-lost brothers in Brazil because the escape from the Rock is still an open Interpol investigation. If they were to locate and inadvertently lead the police to their siblings, they would face severe repercussions. In January 2018, Alcatraz made new headlines once again when the FBI shockingly announced that some intriguing new evidence had brought the decade-old case back to life. The new evidence was a letter sent to the San Francisco Police Department in 2013, signed by a man who claimed to be John Anglin, one of the Alcatraz escapees. It is unclear why the letter didn't come to light for 5 years, but its contents were both intriguing and shocking. The letter begins, "My name is John Anglin. I escaped from Alcatraz in June 1962 with my brother Clarence and Frank Morris. I'm 83 years old, in bad shape, and I have cancer. Yes, we all made it that night, but only barely." The letter was unreadable in parts, but a special BBC report examined the contents and found that Anglin had lived in Seattle for most of his years after the escape. But it is the next revelation that the letter revealed that was truly unbelievable. These are the terms set in the letter. "If you announce that on TV that I will be promised to go to jail for no more than a year and receive medical attention I need, I will write back to let you know exactly where I am. This is no joke." But before the deal was even considered, the letter itself had to be investigated to see if any other information about its authenticity and origin could be discovered. The US Marshals handed the letter over to the FBI, who then tested the paper extensively. They checked for trace DNA evidence, dusted for fingerprints, and ran handwriting analysis, using the 3 escapees' handwriting samples from when they were locked up. According to KPIX, a San Francisco's local CBS affiliate, the FBI's results were inconclusive. A security expert on the channel gave the following perplexing quote as to the letter's authenticity, saying the FBI's conclusion means yes and it means no, so this leaves everything in limbo. Jim Albright, the very last guard to leave Alcatraz prison, was interviewed by ABC7, a local TV affiliate in San Francisco, to commemorate 55 years of the prison's closure in March 2018. He worked there during the escape and was asked about his beliefs regarding the men's fate. Does he think they drowned, or did they survive as claimed in the letter? This is what he had to say. "It depends on whether you're talking to me or you're talking to their mother. I believe they drowned. I really do." Albright believed that the man who wrote the letter as John Anglin was a very sick man who needed treatment for his cancer and was using the famous escapee's name to get help. Of the 36 inmates who staged 14 escapes attempts over the 29 years that Alcatraz served as a federal penitentiary, 23 were recaptured, 6 were shot and killed, 2 drowned, and 5, Morris and the Anglins, Theodore Cole and Ralph Rowe, are all listed as missing and presumed drowned. Thank you all for taking the time out to listen to this episode of Mark's Unexplained World. Next time we are going to look at the disappearance of the Flannan Lighthouse Keepers. On the 15th of December 1900, when the steamship Arctur was on a passage from Philadelphia to Lee, the captain noted in his log that the Flannan Isle Lighthouse was not operational during the poor weather conditions, which made it challenging. This was the first record that something was amiss or abnormal on the Flannan Isles. When the Arctur docked at Lee on the 18th of December 1900, this unusual sighting from Flannan Island was passed on to the Northern Lighthouse Board. This show was written by Mark Hughes and proofread and edited by Linda Hughes. The actor in this episode was Mark Hughes. With special thanks to Neil Packer and the staff at the Haunted Antiques Paranormal Research Centre in Hinckley. And remember guys, keep it real, because being real is